Welcome back to another episode of Bombshell 1111 Girl Talk Series Podcast. Bombshell 1111 is a platform created to teach ways to nourish the mind, body, and soul. This platform allows this podcast to create weekly content on podcasts with special guests each week that will stimulate your spiritual, mental, and physical growth. The podcasts are played on social media platforms such as Spotify, YouTube, Anchor Radio Station, Apple Podcasts, and more. This station has been created to allow us to interact with each other to share knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and light. So without further ado, please help me welcome your host and founder of Bombshell 1111 Girl Talk Series, Keya.
To another episode of Bombshell 1111 Podcast. My name is Keya and I'm your host. Tonight, you guys, I'm very honored and very happy to have a guest on my podcast tonight. She is very near and dear to my heart. We grew up together. She's my family. And for her to have made this accomplishment, you guys, I'm just so honored again to have her on my podcast to share this moment with her and for her to be able to educate you guys and talk about her venture that she just most recently started in our hometown in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. So without further ado, you guys, I want to give a short intro on who this special guest is. And then after that, we'll jump right in. The guest for tonight, you guys, goes by the name of Sherika Rimmer-Higgins. She's the founder and executive director of Shakur Cares, a nonprofit dedicated to enhancing her community through education, economic awareness, social unity, health education, cultural competency, and civic engagement. So you guys, without further ado, let's welcome Sherika to the show. Welcome, Sherika. How are you?
I'm fine. And yourself?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for coming on and being a part of the podcast. I'm so happy that you decided to come on and be a part to share, your venture, your journey, and what you most recently just started. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's a pleasure, Miss Bombshell.
So for those who don't know, they should know, especially those who are familiar with my platform and know who I am and who you are. Our hometown is Kosciuszko, Mississippi. It's a very small town located down south near Jackson, Mississippi, for those who don't know where Kosciuszko is. And it's a very small town. And for you to have made this major accomplishment, I just think that that's so great. I can continue to go on and on about that accomplishment, but rather than me do that, I will allow you some time to do a short intro on who you are, in addition to what Shakur Care exactly is.
Okay. Thank you for having me. As mentioned, it's a pleasure. And good evening to everyone. Shakur Cares is a 501c3 organization based here in Kosciuszko, as you mentioned, Oprah's hometown, because that's all we're known for. Mm-hmm. But we're here to advance the community through education, economic awareness, social unity, health education, cultural competence, and civic engagement, as you mentioned before. Mm-hmm. And we are highly excited that we have our building open community place, which houses Shakur Cares and my consulting firm. And to be able to offer the services here in my hometown, which actually extends statewide and even nationally, some things that we do. So it's a blessing, and we're extremely excited about everything thus far.
Wow. Yeah, that's a major blessing and a major accomplishment, I think, as well, Sherika. Can you let the audience and me as well know exactly what does Shakur mean? What's the meaning behind Shakur?
The meaning behind it is she is spelled SHE and capital COR and care CARES. The Shakur comes from a tag my mother had on her car years and years ago. The first three initials are for each of her offspring, which is only two girls, my sister and I. She put our first three initials on her tag, and for some reason that just resonated with me. And when I came up with Shakur Cares, actually back in 2012, that is what came in my head, because for me, Shakur Cares is my baby. And so that's love. And as she loved us enough to put that on her tag, I just, that is just what I went with.
Oh, wow. I never even knew that. I should have known that. But that's very sentimental. And, you know, that's a great reasoning behind having that name. So yeah, totally agree with that. That's good. That's very sentimental.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. What motivated you to become an entrepreneur?
Well, I've always had aspirations to do things on my own. For instance, in undergrad at Mississippi State University, one of my alma maters, I started just taking classes of interest. I would even go to my advisor if there was something that was of interest and that I looked to doing or kind of pursuing. I would take that course as if I had all the time in the world. And when I finally graduated, I realized that I didn't. And then to exalt my loans, but that's a whole nother issue. But
I'm trying to tell you.
Later years, I shouldn't have been doing that. But that was just one of my interests. It's something that I just, as mentioned, aspired to do. And definitely the last several years, I have really wanted to, it's been important to me to inspire my kids to want to be entrepreneurs, because the way in which the world is going right now, you just never know. And I want them to always be able to build something and also build on themselves. And so it's been extremely important to even teach them entrepreneurship skills, which they've learned in their own ventures individually, and then the one they have together. So that's been very important to me. And I'm not one who just has to own something, but I am one who likes things the way that I like them and really want to help people. And that's where the cares come from. Excuse me to go back to Shakur Cares, but that's where the cares come from in Shakur Cares as well, because I care so much about people in general and in my community. So at the age of 22, I was thankful to realize what my calling is, which is to help people. And you can do that in various ways, but I chose to do it with my nonprofit, Shakur Cares. And even though technically they say with a nonprofit, you don't own it, but with all the sweat and tears I put into it, and that being my baby, I definitely own it.
Yeah, and I think that always goes back to looking at the purpose and behind in whatever you create. Because I can use, my podcast, for example. My podcast platform is to network, is to collaborate and encourage. You know what I mean? I'm not necessarily looking for the monetary part of it, because I want to help people. And so I can definitely see where you're going with that. And then in turn, you'll get the blessings that's to come for you with that. In many ways that you won't even know, so I get exactly what you're saying with that.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I can agree with you on that, especially being surprised that you showed up to my soft opening, and to now be here with you is such a blessing, and to speak on such a needed and important platform that you have. It's just, it gives me chills. It's a blessing, truly.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that too as I was preparing for our podcast. It's just so crazy. I said, and I think we were just what 6, 7 years old in the backyard playing kickball in our apartments. For people that know in Hammond Circle, and then for us to be in the positions that we are in now, and then me be home and you had that opening. I had no choice but to come and support you. That would have not been right for me. You know, I wasn't even properly dressed. But I didn't care about that. It was the point of supporting you in that moment, because I think that that's so great, and for you to want to contribute to where you're from, that says a lot within itself, and it's so much needed, because you know other people also would like to potentially be where you are, and you're opening that doorway for people to be able to get those tools and those resources. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. So we've been talking a lot about Shakur and the background behind you and what led you to opening your agency. What is the overall mission and the overall goal of Shakur Cares?
Well, the overall goal of Shakur Cares is to obey God's ordered steps while being transparent, honest, ethical, accountable, and dependable in engaging, inspiring, motivating, influencing, teaching, training, and driving individuals and community to reach their highest potential for public good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely our goal.
And that says a lot just within that. What you're looking for is commitment to your ordered steps. Basically, that's the overall goal. Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying. I see where you're going with that. Now, you talk a lot about in your brochure, briefly, about the services that you provide. Mm-hmm. I want to kind of take some time out for those individuals who may be interested in signing up for those particular courses or trainings. Let's start with the basis. For some people, they don't that may not be familiar with the term competency. Can you define what is cultural competency so those individuals can have an understanding of exactly what you're providing?
Sure. When it comes to cultural competence is the ability to understand, communicate with, and effectively interact with people across different cultures. And that's highly important to me, especially in the wake of what's all going on today. Mm-hmm. And with my certification in cultural competence, I'm able to go out and train law enforcement officials, hospitals and clinics, large and small companies, whatever entity that feels as though they need it, and bring awareness to one's own worldview and develop positive attitudes toward cultural differences. They get to gain the knowledge of different cultural practices and worldviews, and even develop skills for communication and interaction across cultures. Mm-hmm. We also do leadership training, mental coaching, and ethics, and much more, general training. So, yeah.
One particular training that really stood out to me, and I guess because my background is in mental health, can you talk a little bit about the mental health coaching and what that looks like?
Yeah, of course. So with mental health coaching, it is helping a person to be more positive with their, be able to handle their emotions and be more positive in their, how they see themselves in the world, being able to reduce stress and anxiety, and being able to challenge the negative thinking patterns that they have.
And when an individual signs up for your particular training, Sherika, what is the outcome? What are they able to do with at the end? Do they gain a certificate, or what is the outcome? What do they get when they complete your trainings?
Okay, with cultural competence, they definitely get a certification which lasts for 2 years. And then after that, after their training has expired, of course, I would come back and give them updated training of what have you. When it comes to the leadership training, sometimes it's just CEUs that they may need. The mental coaching is pretty much just being able to continuously coach and monitor those individuals throughout their journeys in life if they choose to let us do that. But we always give recognition of some sort when they complete these trainings and the coaching that we offer.
Now, let's just say I'm not an individual or a that works within the law enforcement hospital clinics, or I have a small company. I'm just a regular smuggler person, but I'm interested in taking the trainings. How would these trainings benefit me? If I were just to come in and say, hey, Ms. Higgins, I'm interested in mental health coaching, but I don't work in these fields. How would this training benefit me? Are those trainings offered to those individuals, or do you have to be in a professional field?
Oh no, definitely not at all. Like even with cultural competence, it could be at for instance, one of the big companies here, I would say Ivy's, a regular workplace, but for those individuals to be able to coincide and see each other and appreciate each other's cultures, because I feel like that's what gets misconstrued and causes the problems that we have in this country today. Just one person not really knowing the other or even how to approach the other person. Mm-hmm. They may be in fear, some intimidation there, or some hesitancy to even get to know someone because of what they have perceived over the years or even been told. Good example of that, hate is always taught. It's not, that is something that people are not born with. They're taught to hate. And right. So with that cultural competence, that could be anyone. I actually applaud anyone who's willing to go through that training in order to accept others. And when it comes to mental coaching, of course, that's definitely for anyone off the street, anyone in law enforcement or any type of entity, because with especially having went through COVID this past year, so many people have gotten a weakened mental capacity because COVID just, as you know, just really messed with everyone, not only mentally, but physically. And a lot of people just couldn't deal with it and continue to halfway be able to deal with it. So it helps you to get over certain hurdles and trials and tribulations that you've had in your life. And that could be anyone. It doesn't have to be a professional. So we definitely have our doors open to any and everyone.
That's great. That's great. And the structure of your trainings, for those individuals that are interested in signing up, how would they sign up, and what does the structure look like? Is it spread it out over a 6-week or a time frame, or is it every day? What does that look like? And also, do you provide services online?
That's a good question. Well, with cultural competence, that's an 8-hour training. I tried to condense it within 7 hours, but with it mainly being tailored to, or having been trained on the different entities, as I mentioned, like law enforcement or what have you, those professionals, it is set up for a work day, because most companies, that's what they want. And of course, you don't need to go over 8 hours or extend it out to 2 or 3 days, because I always like to keep the attention of my participants or my audience. So if I can condense it and put everything into it that I can in that allotted time, that's what I choose to do. Now, here, since COVID, we have been offering some things virtually, but I like more hands-on training, and some people choose to do that. And since, again, with COVID, of course, we weren't able to be face-to-face and what have you this past year a lot. So this year in the summer, we're planning on picking up a lot of these trainings and what have you. And we may consider offering those virtually. But some of them, like with the cultural competence and what have you, you have to take like an assessment at the end of it. So it's best if it is in person. But if not, then I haven't found a way in which they can do it virtually and have a proctor there. So, but of course, mental coaching that continues virtually, maybe via phone, email, or even like some Zoom meetings or sessions, just checking up on people, what have you. Leadership training, that can be virtual as well, but most things we've done face to face. But it can definitely be offered, and something that we have thought about very seriously. But if they would just look on the website at shakurcares.org, which we're putting some things on there this week, so may be under construction a couple of days, but they'll be able to see all that and see when things are offered. And like I said, most things will start up in the summer, because that's when we feel like it'll be a little safer to do those sorts of things. And it'll have exactly what we're offering and how.
Now, Sherika, for those individuals who may be interested that are in there physically in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, that are able to come to the location to attend those trainings, can you provide the location information in addition to those who may want to sign up virtually? Can you provide that information where they can go to sign up for your trainings?
Sure. We're Community Place. We're located at 115 Suite B here in Kosciuszko. If everyone is familiar with where you get your tags in Attala County, we're diagonally located across from them. And you can go to www.shakurcares.org. As I mentioned, a couple of days may be down for some tweaking that we're doing, just to update some things. And you can also call Community Place at 601-559-8056.
Now, Sherika, in addition to Shakur Cares, you also have another business, and I would like to spend a couple of minutes on that as well, to allow the listeners and the people that are there in our hometown at Kosciuszko to also be aware of those services that you provide. So can you talk a little bit about your catering services?
Oh, yes, definitely. Did you say catering or my consulting firm?
The catering.
Okay. With Rimmer Family Catering, that's dear to my heart as well, because I wanted to, in the creation of this business, to honor my family name in some sort of way. And my grandmother, who raised me, she worked day and night, 24/7 as a cleaner for several families around Kosciuszko. And I thought about a cleaning service, and I was like, nah, who wants to clean up right now? So with my certifications in teaching Serve Safe classes, I'm knowing that one of the biggest creations of foodborne illness is catering events. And so I said, what better way than to try to safeguard people and making sure that the food is wholesome and safe than to to create my own catering company. So it's called Rimmer Family Catering, and we do different events and what have you. It's pretty much where individuals may come up to me and ask me if I cater, because I don't advertise, because there are several wonderful caterers here in town, and I a lot of times just pretty much try to refer them, because I have these other ventures, and unless it's just where we're highly sought after, like I said, I don't advertise it, but we definitely do all sorts of catering events.
Now, you did mention something just a minute ago that I don't think I was aware of. You have a consulting company as well?
Yes, and a food safety, environmental, and agricultural consulting firm. It's actually the other half of Community Place. So Community Place houses my nonprofit and my consulting firm.
So can you talk a little bit about that for those individuals who may be interested in that as well? Because that's something new to me as well. So we can spend a few minutes on that as well. You can go ahead, Sherika.
Sure. Edible Smarts Foods and Services is my consulting firm. As mentioned, we do food safety, environmental, and agricultural consulting. And it is our commitment to help individuals, farmers, producers, restaurants, franchises, mom and pop establishments, large corporations, mobile food vendors, universities, meat plants, daycare centers, sports organizations. The list goes on and on, no matter how big or small. Mm-hmm. And we offer food safety training and agriculture related services, including ServSafe certifications, third-party inspection audits, illness complaint response plans, HACCP plans, SSOPs, farm management, marketing, nutrition, labeling, controlling food service costs, hospitality and management, food and beverage management, just to name a few of the services. And we even assist our clients in negotiating non-compliances with the Department of Health. And we offer webinars, we'll do custom seminars, emergency certifications, and many other food safety and agricultural services, either virtually or face-to-face.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of people there that have started their own small business venture in reference to what you just talked about, catering and things of that nature. So I think that will be very instrumental for those people to check you out and see what you offer in reference to that. Yes. Now, Sherika, you've talked a lot about your trainings and what you offer. I know that you can't, go one by one pricing on your and what that looks like, but just as a rough guesstimate for the listeners that are listening, what is the general cost for your overall trainings?
Well, when it comes to the consulting firm, the ServSafe classes that I offer are only $149.99. That's with the study guide. I made up my own study guide because typically people don't want to buy the book. It's expensive. And then too, most people don't want to read the book. But with the study guide, you can just flip through the pages wherever you are, take it on the go, make note cards or what have you. And that's pretty much what the option they choose a lot of times is the study guide with the ServSafe certifications. But with all the other various consulting, just like the ServSafe, I'm one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest in the state, I feel like, because even though this is for profit and I separate it from my nonprofit, my calling is to still help people. And like I said, I definitely enjoy helping like smaller corporations and these mom and pop establishments. So I don't want them to go broke with me trying to help them. But my consulting fee is only $99 per hour. It's all contingent on what they need and what they what stage they're in within their business as well. So most firms charge like $250 an hour or what have you, but that's all that we charge here, and it's all contingent too on which type of service and how long it would take and what have you. Like for instance, those HACCP plans that we make from scratch, that takes a long time, and that's a lot that's entailed in those. So it's just all contingent on what their needs are, what have you. So
yeah, and I definitely agree. You definitely giving a good price on the consultant, because just being here in the North, that would definitely be 10 times more. So you're definitely doing a blessing. I totally agree. So Sherika, we're about end of close tonight for our podcast. Is there anything that we missed that you feel that the listening audience should know about you or your agencies, or that we didn't talk about?
Well, I mean, I have several ventures. Is even the ventures that I help the kids with, what have you. It's just like with the catering company, I hardly focus on because the people that need to know that I'm there. But I'm definitely out front with my nonprofit because this is my office building and this is what I had the opening for. I actually acquired this building last year and moved in the 1st of April, but because of COVID, I couldn't share it with anyone, unfortunately. And so this year, I was very proud to do that. And again, I thank you for showing up. And you're welcome. You still look great. Because we can dress down and still have that snap to it. So, and I took a picture with you, even though I hate taking pictures. But with with everything that I do, you definitely have to have a balance. You have to have that mental and stable capacity as much as you can. But and a great support system, which I have, but God's grace and mercy.
Yeah, definitely. Really I totally agree.
Yes. And I am a work in progress, not only personally, but even with my businesses as well. What people need to understand is when you start something, that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. Like these ventures are not where I necessarily want them to be, but you have to continue to work on yourself and your craft at the same time. Yes. Like you hear, you never too old to learn, but I always say as well that you're never too old to take instruction.
Okay.
So I am continuously learning and striving as the owner of these ventures and trying to take care of myself physically and mentally, and my support system, those around me. My one and only Maurice, he's my rock, my warrior, my number one fan. He feeds and nourishes my goals and ambitions besides my calling. My offspring, my babies are the reason that I choose to exist.
Yes, ma'am.
As you know, my mom and George, they helped me out a lot. I mean, if someone tells you that they got to where they are on their own, they're lying.
They be lying. Yes.
Because you may put in the work, but someone helped you along the way. Even like an undergrad, my goddaddy and my brother, they continuously helped me in so many different ways to get to where I could get out of college. And, people helped me where I had childcare, keeping my baby so that I could go to college and get to where I am. So you just have to look around you and realize that it's God's favor, and the people around you who are truly supportive, they're going to support you through it, and you definitely need them to continuously go on and get to where you need to be. And it's not going to happen overnight, definitely. But keep praying and just keep the faith.
Well, what a perfect way to end out the podcast. I was going to ask you, did you have a piece of advice to leave the audience with? And you did just that.
That's how I am.
Yeah, and that lands on it perfect. But I also want you to be able to give the listener audience just again one more time, because we did provide them with a lot of information, and I want them to be able to contact you, and I want them to be able to obtain those services and those trainings that you are able to provide to them, especially within Kosciuszko, Mississippi. There are so many people who have started their own small businesses that will definitely benefit from literally everything that you talked about tonight in reference to what you provide with Shakur Cares. So Sherika, can you provide the listeners with the location and where you're located, in addition to where they can go and sign up, your website?
Sure, and I would love to help them. We're located at Community Place, 115 Suite B here in Kosciuszko. 115 Suite B North Wells Street here in Kosciuszko.
It's still new, y'all. It's still new. She gonna get it.
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. And also, you can go as far as more information on Shakur Cares, www.shakurcares.org. And when it comes to Edible Smart Suits and Services, www.ediblesmarts.com. And also call 601-559-8056 for more information as well.
We must got a telepathic thing going on, because I was just about to say, can you also provide the phone number for those that are there in Kosciuszko that may, be locally and want to, set an appointment with you and come by and talk to you personally one-on-one. So perfect. You did that too.
Thank you.
Again, Sherika, I want to thank you for coming on and being a part of Bombshell 1111 podcast, Therapy for Women of Color. My platform focuses on mental health and personal development, and this is definitely what you're doing. You're striving for personal development, and you're doing it for, again, your hometown, your community where you were raised and born, and I think that's an awesome thing to do. And I appreciate you for coming on and sharing your mission, sharing your knowledge and your tools and wisdom here on the podcast tonight.
Thank you, and God bless you and all of your endeavors. I appreciate it. If there's anything I can ever do, I'm here for you.
Definitely, without a doubt. And so, you guys, I would like to thank you for being a continued support of Bombshell 1111 podcast, Therapy for Women of Color. And we're going to close out for tonight. But always remember, you are a bomb within your own shell. Peace, love, and light, you guys. Have a good night. Good night. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you guys were able to leave with some great things that could help you in your personal journey. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe so that you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate, review, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Also, check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Bombshell 1111. And remember, you are the bomb within your own shell. Until next time. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.